Well, it's more than 5 past, and we do have a quorum, so let's go ahead and start the meeting. Would someone mind taking notes for now?
Okay. Also, like, AI transcript. Yeah.
Oh,
It's good just to keep kind of a rough sketch of notes, so then you can kind of mold it, because the thing with the transcript is. It thinks that the person hosting, which I'm assuming will still be me, is the one saying everything. It only picks up, like, if Robert says something, it will show like Robert said, but otherwise anybody in the room, it all thinks it's me.
Are we allowed to, like, for the purposes of meetings, like I have tools on my phone, would be great to record that and create the transcripts and notes?
Yeah, as long as you announce it.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes, that's the only requirement. You could take
Yeah.
videos, pictures, whatever, you just have to announce that you're going to.
Well, and I already
want you to,
said
they have to
okay.
say. Yeah,
It came up on this, so.
just like if you're in the library, you can like walk up and take pictures of you. Because you're in a public place.
Right.
There are people out there.
So I don't think we have any new member introductions. Minutes. So Janet sent me the minutes this afternoon. Anyone have changes, additions?
Oh, yeah.
I think we must have another person coming. Hello.
Well, it's not totally across from the elevator, but.
It was intuition. It was going the direction. Sorry, we're late.
Okay.
Hello, you guys.
Hello, hello. Here's what we need to just getting started. Right, just.
Real people.
That's a ferocious one. Yeah. All right, Brad. No, no.
Fire only.
That's okay.
All right.
So we have chips, we have bottles of water.
Oh,
Laxatives.
Kitty, why don't you some water?
I think you have
I would love it. Oh, just a
I
thank you.
think I'm.
just the right out of the can. It was over.
Yeah. Revision, I would think I was actually present at this meeting too, so there's just.
Oh,
I noticed it.
I haven't seen you in person for 5 years.
We kind of-
Well, pretty hilarious. I just wanted to close the door and he looked at me like, what? Closing the door? What?
She knows.
What is that?
Party.
Just for everybody's benefit, that just arrived, we decided to use an AI tool to record notes.
I didn't wear my hearing aids. I'm very sorry and apologetic. I forgot them. But you're gonna have to yell.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
I just wanted to let everyone know that we're gonna record this so that the AI is going to convert notes. So if everybody's okay with that, just acknowledges that recording.
You bet.
Jean, I think there's a couple of changes.
Okay,
Oh, so I was in attendance on December 11th, so I just wanted to have just the attendees.
I can't hear you.
I was just going to add myself to the attendees for the December 11th meeting, so it's Justine Martinelli.
And your name is what?
Justine Martinelli. I'll email it across
Will you, Ian?
remotely. Yep.
Okay. So you're gonna send me that, you're gonna send me that?
Sure,
Correct.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
is there any others for?
Just the
Oh,
RVP, I think is meant to say RSP.
Okay,
That's it?
would you send me that? Anything else? Wow, that's not bad.
No.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And
So-
these, the purpose of these really is just for Jean. I don't need to even make note of that. Jean will correct it on your copy and. Cause there's nothing I can do about it.
Right, right. Well, I can correct it and send it to you so you can,
Well, there's
I'll
nothing,
vote it
but this
to
isn't
the
gonna go anyplace else, and we're at the end of this. I can make a note for the minutes that we made these two corrections, but as
Right.
far as the minutes go, it's not gonna affect them at all.
no, it's not gonna affect anything.
Yeah.
But we do have to get
So you
them,
can,
posted.
yeah, okay, so you,
Yes,
so
yes.
shall I send it to you for the posting, is that? Cause I've got them on my computer.
Yeah, just
You
make
send
the
it.
amendment.
I'll send it to Jean.
You can
Oh,
send
I-
it to
I've
the
never sent
town,
it, I've never done that before.
you have always sent them to the town.
Are you sure?
Somebody's sending them.
Yes,
I thought
you
did.
have, no,
No,
yeah.
So I'll make a note for that, I don't remember that, but
Okay,
it's been, because it's been a while, I think.
Mhm.
Since we've done anything official.
I just want to
Okay,
make
so
sure we don't
tell me again if
duplicate.
you've
Should Justine still take minutes tonight now that Janet's here?
are you able to do that?
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not duplicating. So Justine offered to take minutes tonight, so you don't even have to.
Well, I
write
never
them.
take minutes, I always just read what Jean sends me the minutes and then, and for the purpose of us approving.
Okay,
I never.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think you look at the recording, or you listen to the
Exactly.
recording and make,
And I make
the
the
notes
minutes,
from
if
there,
Justine wants to take them.
If I'm happy to have you do it, or I'm happy to provide some assistance you looking. What do?
What is the feeling of the group? I don't care.
As long as I don't
oh,
have.
I'm, yeah.
That's my, I was just offering because you weren't here.
Because if, yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna be
you-
harder for you to hear. than maybe
Yeah.
just
I'm not gonna be able to,
me.
no,
Right,
I would
yeah.
do it as I always do, which is
Yeah.
read the minutes
Okay,
a lot later, so you
Yeah.
can decide if Justine wants to do it
Well,
tonight.
why don't I pass my minutes, Jean can pass the recording along and then you can review and add anything on top when you review. the
Say that
recording.
again?
I'll pass you my notes along with Jean's recording and then you can synthesize those into.
Yeah, but what's gonna be the minutes that? Okay, I sent these to Jean, she sends them out.
Mhm.
What would be the process now? What would be the-
so how about Justine? If you can type up what you have and
And then
just
they will
send
be-
it to me, send it to Jess. And
Okay.
then we'll,
So I will be out of the loop.
you get relieved of the duty for tonight.
Okay, great. I think that it's probably, let me see, the benefit of this would be that there would be a meeting.
Mhm.
With me, they come up
Yeah.
before the next meeting.
Right,
So you decide what you want.
okay, well, for tonight, we'll have Justine
Do
do
what
it,
you, do what you.
and then
Great,
we'll pass it back to you for the next one.
doesn't matter.
Okay. So, Jess, I'm gonna toss this number for, voting to use the handicap fee funds over to you.
so we had, legal posting we had to do for the, legal notice for the RFP we just did for the,
Transition.
yes, the AD transition plan, blah, blah, blah. So that bill is in the packet, I believe it was 233.24 from the Concord Bridge, so we do have. Really, the only budget available to this group is that small account we have, I think it has between $2,000 and $3,000 in it, which is where we collected all the fees, for violators of handicap parking, so. We just need a vote of this group to authorize us to pay the Concord Bridge this dollar amount from that account.
So
What is the invoice for?
Okay. Peter made a motion.
I would second the motion.
Just to answer Justin's question, it's to pay for the legal notice, because if we run a legal notice.
Got it, okay.
yes. And that legal notice has to be run with procurement law to say, hey, we have an RFP if you want to bid on it.
Mhm.
This is the instruction, just, yes,
Okay,
I just want to make sure. your question,
yes,
yes.
all right. Other questions, comments?
No, I
Concerns?
just finished,
I-
No.
Yeah, go
So-
ahead.
Thanks. I understand that we had $5,000 and
Maybe it is more
The-
like five. It's definitely enough to cover this and then some. I know we gathered that information at one of our prior meetings. Because it came up, for some reason, 2 or 3,000 stuck in my head, but it might very well be 5,000.
Yeah, I thought it was five as
Yeah.
well, yeah.
this is for the little little announcement in the paper.
Yep. That's why we
Yeah.
don't print job opening in the newspapers anymore because it's so expensive.
They have to set the letters, into like.
Oh.
Robert, I
Yeah,
just
I
want to
see.
be clear that the bill was $233 just for that little blurb in the paper.
Oh, that makes
It-
sense.
the- Yeah, the amount that our commission has in a kitty for purposes like this, that money's collected from parking violation fees in ADA parking spaces. That's where that money comes from, and those dollars are made accessible to this commission. So that's the somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 amount that you were hearing. Not
Okay.
for the,
Oh, right, yeah. Other questions? All right. Then all in favor of using some of the funds in our account to pay for the invoice for the posting? Say aye.
I
Okay, any opposed? All right, this passes unanimously. So Jess or Jennifer, you want to talk a little bit about the grant?
I'm happy to, unless you really want to. Yeah. So we received, we posted the RFP, thanks to the legal ad. We received 3 responses that were initially vetted by our procurement department. They all meet at least the minimum qualifications. So as discussed, at our last meeting, Jean, Jennifer, and I, and also Magnolia is going to help too, just for some experience, are going to hopefully very early next week, sit down and go through and rate the proposals based on that comparative criteria. And hopefully one will rise to the top. If they're all highly advantageous, comparable, rated the same, then it just comes down to the price. So the way it works with RFPs, you rate them and then look at the pricing after. So we have no idea how much any of these are going to charge, but they were told in the RFP that we have 125,000. So I feel like it's safe to assume none of them bid more than 125,000, but if they did, that's automatically gonna kick them out, even if we like them, because we only have the 125,000. So then once we identify somebody, it's just locking in the contract with them and they can begin the work, which, as you all recall, they have to get that all completed and done and invoiced to us before June 30th. So it's a quick turnaround, but
Very.
As part of those RFP responses, does the procurement team that vetted them provide you with a scorecard?
yes, we have a nice little, oh, I think I just got bumped off the Zoom. It just says it's connecting, although everybody's still up there. Yes, they give us kind of the checklist scorecard and say, rate them highly advantageous. We had wanted whatever it is, 10 years of experience doing this work in Massachusetts. If they only have, 5 years, then we would have to rate them the next category down. So it does spell that all out. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think that the idea is that we'll each review them, do our ratings, and then come together and say, okay, where's the consensus? And if there is disagreement with anybody, we talk it through and say, okay, what do we think that rating should be? We come up with one sheet, and then all that goes back to procurement. So it's convoluted and a little lengthy, but that's general for you.
So Jess, I think you sent out that scorecard a while ago.
I can resend it to you.
Yeah, if you could, I think it's
Yeah.
buried somewhere in my email.
No worries.
So this is really quite exciting that we have $125,000. And huge thanks to Jennifer and Jess for putting the whole project together so that it could be presented. This is a grant, the ADA improvement grant is given every year by the staff, or not the staff, by the state. And I had hoped that we could, apply for something and get a grant to do some work within the town. And there's not been really an appetite in the past to submit a grant. It takes quite a lot of work. So I just want to acknowledge and really thank you guys for all the work you did and congratulate you on being so successful.
Good shit.
Yes, yeah. Gene, I think you're actually hosting now because I get kicked off.
Oh.
I don't know if,
Oh,
but the good thing is it must be set up that you're another host,
Sorry,
so.
I should have done this.
Pertains to grants. Is there something that like the town office produces statewide that list grants that might, eligible grants that maybe this commission on a rolling basis could look into for future like funding needs and evaluate the,
yeah,
pursuing those?
We
versus-
don't keep a list, but definitely people in different departments get notices, usually from their counterpart state, sometimes, Maya, I think which is the Mass Municipal Association will hear about a grant, or maybe offering a grant, they'll send it out, and then people go in and apply, but I don't know if there's actually a big database of all available grants.
don't all the state grants have to go on to Compact?
Yes,
So that would be,
or combis, yes.
yeah, that would be. I don't know about searching it historically, but if we could sign up for grants of this type or grants that could do even physical improvements, we would need to have someone sign up for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can, because I already get the Compass notices for developmental disabilities and that sort of thing, so. But I'm saying any citizen could probably sign up for it.
I don't think so, and I can definitely look into that too.
Okay,
Some larger cities and towns have like just a full-time grant administrator on board, this is what they do all day.
right.
They don't have that.
The Massachusetts Office on Disability sometimes sends around
Yes,
grant notifications to the state commissions on disabilities. So that if there is money to give away, we all are notified. I haven't seen one of those come through in a long time.
yeah, probably the last one was.
This one, yeah,
So this grant typically comes out on an annual basis
yeah.
in the late fall. And that's really the one that I know about that is kind of repetitive year after year.
I can look into it, maybe just report back in the next year to see if there's some type of alert we can set
Yeah,
up or
yeah.
database that's
Yeah.
available. That way, maybe it's something we can pursue a little bit more. Really going
Absolutely,
forward.
yeah.
Actually, this turns out to be a little.
Yeah, there was a notice that came out from MOD today that was just announcing these municipal grants. And I can forward that on to everyone. There was almost $6 million awarded through 86 different grants. So lots of cities and towns got grants.
I think it's more than I expected.
Oh, me too. I figured it might be a dozen or something.
Mass.gov/list community grant finder. And it's broken out into all kinds of. I'll send this out to the group.
Oh, great, thank you.
Yeah, not that I'm doing. You all need to do, Justine,
I
but
don't know, but
curiosity got the better of me.
I also have a close friend that leads up the Economic Development Committee in Marlborough, Mass. And they do a lot of grants for businesses and such. And she secured one on the disability front, so I'll ask her what they use as a resource too.
Okay, good, thank you.
When you're all home on the long weekend, you can.
I have the feeling that I agree about seeing what other grants look like. I would imagine that final reports would be easier to get. Although I don't know that for sure. And I also have the feeling that should there be a next grant, a lot of it's going to come from the report we're going to get from the current contract.
Yeah, well, this particular grant, MOD sends a notice every year. And every year I have sent it on to whoever is our liaison here. And it just, there's not been an appetite to do anything in the past, so I'm really pleased and very grateful, Jennifer and Jess, for your work to secure this.
And I think, Robert, maybe some of what you were getting at is it'll identify some of the gaps that could be filled, and we'll have evidence that there are gaps, which is really helpful for getting you correct,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
being able to apply for them. So, yeah.
Right,
it's great.
and I expect if we dig around in those 86 grants, we'll find some interesting information about what other towns are doing.
It's true.
That's very true.
Okay, so Peter, are you ready to, turn it over to you?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Okay,
So I hate to say this is less of a presentation and more of a discussion.
okay,
But I know we talked last time about our resources. And what I realized, I started this whole process of putting together a resource package. And then my wife, who's among other things, a professional editor, I sort of ran it by her and she was completely confused. And she said, remind me, what is the committee's charge again? And I thought, can't remember exactly. So what I did, I just want to share this with you because what I ended up doing was I went back to our charge and ended up really running basically a critique. I think there are some copies here. And I basically went through it and kind of redlined because, and of course, what it reveals to me is there are things that it says in our charge we're supposed to be doing that either we can't or don't do, or we used to, or we don't anymore. And I actually thought what would be more helpful to me in terms of the way I'm looking at it as an upgrade to our webpage is to hear from this group about what we think should be on it. Because I think there are different kinds of restrictions. And let me just go through this if you'll indulge me. Let me see if I can make some sense of this. Robert, can you see what I'm showing?
I see what looks like a Word document or some such thing. Yes,
Okay.
I see it. Thank you.
So this is from our committee. This is committee charges on the town website. This is the Disability Commission charge. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to go through, for instance, just under the first item, the purpose. So it talks about our purposes. And of course, the very first bullet point says, provide information, referral, advocacy, technical assistance to individuals, business, and organizations
Right, so
in all I'm just reading this. Sorry, I'm just reading the first bullet. It says in all matters, which is a very unfortunate term because that is way too broad. And you know, anybody can interpret what that means. So eventually I'll get to the point where we may want to clarify our charge. But in the short term, given that the mandate is too broad, I think what we could do is add to the things listed here. For instance, under information, we could list these agencies. Now, I'm just going to skip ahead. I'm not going to try to make you too dizzy, but our webpage right now shows this as the helpful links. It shows 5 links, the MOD, Minuteman Senior Services. I'm not even sure what the third one goes to, MBTA, and a retail savings guide. So it doesn't even list links.
That's very.
So, and this is, you know what, this is absolutely fine. It's good to know this.
I wonder how many of those links actually work. 'Cause
They actually all.
They do,
they
okay,
work.
I've
Yeah,
noticed that
they go
on some of
some.
the pages, the links are old now.
But we could add all these other ones, I mean, there are a bunch of links that are public. We can't, I'll get to the next thing in a sec, we can't do, not non-public referrals, I don't think. I think it has to be public information. But, we could put the link and a little description. In fact, the MAB description, that's what it says, the first thing on their website, it says, here's what it is, here's our purpose, please call us if you have a question. A lot of the resources I think this commission can provide to the public really are going to be, here's somebody to call.
Yeah.
We can't tell you what to do because we're a public commission. So the second item, referrals, again, go ahead, sorry.
And happy to hold questions, but before you start this discussion,
Mhm.
my experience in navigating, especially through state links and everything, is they're often very times convoluted, right? You land on a site
Almost.
and then it's
Almost.
right, and yeah, reporting. So, big, in case Big Brother's listening, and I've joked on many occasions that even a doctorate degree, you might not be able to find the answer that you're looking for, right? So is there a way not only to include helpful links, but to help maybe synthesize data for easier consumption for folks, or I guess give more pointed directions versus like a general website, just something to consider.
I think so, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I think I'm just let me just go through the
Yeah.
comments I made, and actually, no, I'm happy to ask, you can interrupt me anytime. Because of course, this is a little bit of live time thinking with me anyway. But with referrals, so again, I don't think the term referral to me says, I'm gonna go to this commission and I need to put a ramp out the front of my house. Who should I talk to? We can't really, I don't think, do that. We can't recommend architects or builders because they're for-profit companies. The town can't take on the liability if they screw up. However, we could point people toward other entities like the IHCD, which actually can list contractors, and we could also put qualifiers on our recommendations saying, the town isn't liable for whatever it is, the language, so that the attorneys who are listening to the call are happy with our recommendation. But I think we can do other things, for instance, like we could list for people, what are your rights in the state of Massachusetts, in the town of Concord? We could put a summary of that right on our webpage, know what your rights are. We could give at least what websites we're allowed to give. I think there are some good ones out there that we're not referring to. We could probably refer to books and articles, although again, I don't know if that means well, but the problem is, I don't know if that means what's the right word I'm looking for? Endorse. And that's, the issue is we can't necessarily endorse things.
No.
So unless we say, we're not endorsing this, we're providing a list of ideas.
The option of having like a community message board, right? Where you could encourage residents of the town to refer a contractor or someone that they've worked with. That way, it's just coming as a recommendation from a citizen.
That's a great idea.
From the commission, but we have a board where they know the intent of this is to share information pertaining to disability in different facets, whether it's a contractor or even one of the things I wrote down here is funding, because I know we're about to do a renovation to make our house accessible for our son. And someone was telling me about there's a certain type of loan you can get from the state that you don't have to pay. And I was like, what?
Yeah, Massability.
I'll
send you a list.
Right?
Zero interest loan.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, and and
30 fair.
trying to find your way to, and I Googled it, right?
Right.
And then admittedly, I was like, again, finance professor and stuff like, I know numbers, but I was taken to all of these websites and I was like, I don't actually know which one is the reputable one versus which one are just agencies that are trying to get a book of business to then sell you something that you should be able to apply for directly, right? So I think if we could provide links that we know direct people to a reputable like site for things like that would also be helpful.
Or it could be that the questions go to the commission. And then, you know, we have to tell people to just, hold on, we're gonna take it to the commission and we make a response of some kind. That's qualified, that says, look, in the commission's opinion of those sites you sent, this one's the one that we would recommend.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And then we plaster it with all kinds of legal disclaimers.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, small and they steal your money.
Did you all see in the bridge a couple weeks ago that fellow from England who tripped on the sidewalk in front of Concord County? So that's.
That
a
was so sad.
lawsuit. That's a lawsuit just waiting to happen. I mean, how
There was another
embarrassing.
elderly individual
Really?
tripped on the same, almost identical, same sidewalk. I drove past today and there were ambulances out there. He was bleeding.
Really? On the same place?
Very, like right along that strip.
That's really,
So,
it's terribly embarrassing.
Yeah.
issue.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's, yeah.
Those of
Um,
us that do
I wonder
that,
what to
AARP
note about
talk
the community board.
Oh,
If we
yeah.
did that, it would be important to have some way to organize it by topic so that you don't, because otherwise all the information just gets lost, like it does in all of these Facebook groups.
Right.
Yeah.
Consistent.
and again, I don't wanna jump around too much. I'm gonna share the whole screen. So I can jump around. Um. Share my screen. It's this one. Well, anyway, the IHCD, which you probably all know about, the Institute for Human Centered Design. So these are just a couple of the resources from their website. This one is selected resources. This has journals and books, and I'm assuming they keep this updated, although I don't know. It would be great to point people to things like this, or they have this, things like in the definitions realm, cheat sheets for like, what are we talking about? Is this commission just looking at accessibility and disability, or are we gonna back up and enlarge our charge to talk about inclusive design and universal design? That might be something we wanna vote on as a commission to say, oh, we're actually gonna, declare that this commission is looking more broadly than just accessibility, but not to, I don't wanna get too far ahead of myself.
So sorry,
Mhm.
Jennifer, I've heard you speak on this in prior meetings, because we brought up the playgrounds, and I think what you told us at that point, because that was more about inclusive design, and you said where the remit of the committee stopped was with ADA, is that the case, or? Yeah, okay.
Well, once you reach the limit of the civil rights law,
Mhm.
it's hard to enforce, demand, require, pick your
Yeah.
word, anything beyond that. I think though, the idea that we have a local commission that has a voice, even if it doesn't have any teeth, I think having a commission that can speak to say, hey, this is something we really wholeheartedly endorse. It's possible that that's the right direction. It's possible to have it have some impact. I think that's especially true if we end up with repeat visitors, like developers want you to see something that they're doing favorably. Next time they come, they're going to try to appease you the first time they show up, and they're going to go above and beyond. So in our world, we call it a stretch code. So you have the ADA, which is the code, and everything beyond that is a stretch. I think that's a great thing.
And I think one of the things I was gonna share in a sec, to bounce around just a little bit. So Jennifer, you know about this. This is, it's a site called Design with Disabled People Now, and this is, Alexa is her name. So Alexa Vaughn is a landscape architect. She's created this really truly wonderful, she's a landscape architect, so she's coming at it from your perspective. But she's also created some very good graphics about the basics around disability. What's the problem? What is disability, right? It's a spectrum. She's got some very interesting, and I think I would reach out to her to ask permission, but some very good graphics about how to do audits, design recommendations. And these are the kinds of things, if we can get permission to use even on our website, to say, you know, this is basic information. This isn't really our opinion. This is sort of the latest science or thinking or whatever it is, so that we're sort of generally educating. And I think I'm going to get to it in a sec, but I actually think one of the things before we even think about giving general information to the public is we really should probably reach out to all the town boards and commissions first to see if they understand what universal design is or not. Some people may not even know. So, you know, that's like a low-hanging fruitish thing. We could do an internal town presentation. I could
Could
be
we go
happy
in front of the
with.
school committee?
We would go in front of all the people.
Love to present.
Well, why are
Right.
they, why, what do you think? I'm sure there are some that don't fit into this category.
Well, I think,
Is there anything you would eliminate?
how do you mean eliminate?
Well, do we really have to, I don't know, I'm just thinking of,
Yeah.
but you said all the time, boards and committees, and I just wonder if all of them.
Oh, I see.
Is
Well,
it-
we wouldn't do ours.
Yeah.
Well, you'd like
But I think to
the
be,
personnel board.
well, but you know what, to be fair, we
You should
really
go.
just should go in front
Yeah,
of.
there's a
them.
fairness issue and there's a practical issue.
It might take some time, but you know, ideally, we would do this, this is my fantasy, right? In all the spare time we have. Let's say we somehow can reach all or most of the boards and commissions before town meeting. Then we get 5 or 10 minutes of town meeting in front of the whole town to say, hey, guess what? Your Disabilities Commission did this spring. We showed this little presentation to all the town boards. We're just trying to raise the level of awareness about, you know, what is universal design, some case studies, some examples of what happened in this town last year.
You really
Yeah.
thinking about going to town meeting? I mean, is
Sure,
this
yeah.
any- Okay, I mean, that's great, but I think we should start looking at that.
Oh, I don't know
possibility.
if it's this year. It may not be.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
2 months away.
Yeah, we'd have to strong arm people. But I think this kind of thing is really valuable because I think we have to give people the benefit of the doubt first, and especially around like, you know, buildings and grounds, roads, all that sort of thing. People just may not know to ask, so they may just not know. And I think if we can at least just raise the baseline level of awareness, that will be in some cases, half the battle. Like if the thing about sidewalks is if it's more apparent that, oh, this is an accessibility issue, and accessibility means everything from people in wheelchairs to, you know, to scooters, to elderly people, or whatever. People may just not know. They may not understand that. So, yes.
I think the benefit of pushing into these spaces liberally, like across the board, is that I think people don't know when it might be, there might be a disability related issue, like on the periphery of a situation. And I think some of the language that I'm seeing up here brings a bell to a book I read by a disabled woman who like spoke about nothing about us without us. And by sharing what disability is and maybe expanding people's appreciation of the different ways, like in the very expansive ways in which
Yeah.
our population is affected by different
And
places,
Alexa-
like you might,
Oh, sorry.
no, you're fine.
I was gonna say, Alexa's the kind of person that will point out that the ADA was a great starting point.
Yeah.
It does tend to focus on people in wheelchairs and blind people.
Yeah.
And that's great, but back to the thing about disability is way bigger than that. And that even just educating people about, because people will say, well, it meets ADA. Well, that's like saying if we did anything else, it would be illegal. I mean, that's like the lowest possible setting.
I would just hope that people welcome us into more conversations. Oh,
Yeah.
just like want to run this by you guys. You know,
Yes. Yes, really, and I absolutely do want to come at this not from a perspective of like beating people over the head and making them feel guilty, but more like, oh, we thought it would be helpful to just, and it would be short and pithy, you know, these black and white slides are great because they're easy to understand. They could 20 minutes, whatever. We could figure out a way to convey a lot of information quickly and I think raise the bar. So I know I'm talking a lot here, but let me just finish. Oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah, thanks. I would appreciate these documents that have influenced you and that you like so much. If you could give us a link to those documents, I
Sure.
think that would really be helpful.
And
And
yeah, go ahead.
well, same thing about what you've written here in this document, you know, understanding what it is you're thinking about. And that would
Yeah.
give at least me a better idea of what kind of things might be worth comments or additions
Sure.
or whatever it might be. And
Okay, the reason I did
this-
not distribute it, go ahead. I was gonna say, the reason I did not distribute it, by the way, is that once we do things, it becomes part of the public record and that can get murky because these are my opinions right now. And I think I can share this with the commission, although I don't know, I'm looking at Jess and Jean, I don't know. I'm happy to share whatever, but with the caveat, it's just my opinion. Does that make sense, Robert?
Yeah, it makes sense. And
Okay.
it seems, you know, like publishing it, there's no downside to that. As long as this is what we spoke about at the meeting, people seems they ought to be able to see it.
Okay, sure.
And I think.
I want to
besides-
go on. Sorry.
You
Go
had one
ahead,
more
Peter.
comment.
Go ahead.
I have
Robert.
it. Yeah, it's like related, I suppose. It just seems to me that if the committee were aware of something being built or like just like the Carlisle Library, like it apparently counted that the commission thought this was, well thought out or well designed or human-centered design or however we want to say it. And we actually rate in that way, we would raise our visibility and perceived importance, just an endorsement or a non-endorsement, or, we can't endorse this. We consider this, we can't endorse this for several reasons. Primarily, it doesn't include people who have handicaps with this or that. And I think that would, if we did that, it would certainly raise the importance of the committee.
Have we done that before? Because when I sat on the HDC, the Historic District Commission, Robert, does a like top 5 projects awards, like historic sensitive projects every year. We pick 5, they pick 5 projects and highlight them. We could do something similar.
Yeah.
Question. Do
Or
we
piggyback
have-
on theirs.
Sure.
Can we grade projects that are happening?
Do we have what?
Can we grade projects that are happening currently?
Needs work.
Disability committee, those you get
Yeah.
B-.
Could we expand the remit of the commission, and this might be an overstep, but like bring this to like a town vote to say projects of a certain size, dollar amount, or that are meant to be inclusive or marketed as such in nature, have to either have a member of this committee as part of the board and or submit as like a formal review, like to plans and stuff. As part of like a more formal, you come to the commission for a review, and maybe it's not that we have to sign off, but there's something in paper that says these are our concerns with the project, or we fully support this project based on current plans, based off of dollars spent, maybe.
It would be advisory.
There is,
Yeah.
and Jess and Jean, I don't know if you know, there's the idea has been floated for many years of a design advisory board, a design review board for projects over a certain size in town. Now, before it even hits the permitting, the design is given to HDC, disabilities, architects, for like general comments, like, are you even looking at the following things? And I don't know, I don't think that's happened yet, but that should.
You know, Laura and
that
I
should be a
first joined one of these meetings because Thoreau Elementary School raised money and received a grant to build an inclusive playground,
Without.
which is doesn't even scratch the surface of being inclusive. And, we brought it to the school committee, we brought it to the superintendent, and it essentially invitation to comment was more performative than anything else. And we brought it to this committee before joining, just to raise some awareness, but I think it's projects like that or any type of public spaces, right? That ideally, hopefully, there would be an openness or willingness to have.
Well, and I think also, just to this third point in the first bullet of our charge, it talks about advocacy. We should be advocating on behalf of the town. And I think I've seen websites like this where it says, here's what an accessible Concord looks like, and lists all the things. It would talk about playgrounds, it would talk about sidewalks, whatever. And it wouldn't promise anything, but it would say, this is our goal as a town, and as a commission, it's our charge to push the town in this direction. And I think, if nothing else, it potentially would engage people in our work, and we could get some support and get more talk about it. I think that would be terrific. And I'm sorry I'm stealing the whole meeting time here.
Well,
It's okay, and I think
I
you're
would
right,
take
the
that
idea, oh, go ahead, Robert.
I would take that a step further. And when it doesn't meet those criteria that we have, that we
Yeah.
should make it public.
Sure.
I don't know
And-
exactly how to do that, but I think an endorsement from this committee ought to count.
Yeah.
Not with some kind of legal restriction. I'm not saying that, but just an endorsement or non-endorsement.
Or lack of endorsement, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I think the only place right now where that comes in is when there's an issue and they have to go to the Architectural Access Board, and then they're obliged to come to our commission and present and ask for our support, which,
Mhm.
sometimes we say yes. And
That's-
sometimes we've said, oh, no,
Yeah.
no.
And that's why I'm saying here, Gene, under technical assistance, I think design professionals know about the access board, mostly because they get
Right.
forced to kick back. It says, go talk to your local board. And that's great, but not everybody knows that.
What would
Or-
be the process if we wanted to try to introduce a formal mandate for inclusion of this commission on projects of a certain size?
We would need to go to town meeting.
Yeah,
with-
hold on,
with
so,
a
hold on. So
warrant.
there's site plan review, right? So some projects require site plan review, and that is a process that the town has and requires before they will offer a permit.
Right.
Site plan review is kind of a big deal and it never happens quickly. It happens more like you go in there first, you present everything, and your project and all the documents get kicked out to all of the commissions in town that are required, that have something to say about your project. That starts at planning. Elizabeth would sort that out. So usually, like the fire department takes a look at it, the police department, if they need to.
Water and sewer.
Water and sewer takes a look at it, historic districts would take a look at it. Right now, I don't think that the Commission on Disability is on that list of required towns. I think without going to town meeting, I think we could go to planning and say, hey, Elizabeth, put us on this list. Like, we want to be able to be on that list for site plan review.
And I think-
Residential projects don't go through site plan review. They're not required. Some of them should, but they don't. Larger public projects do.
What about schools and like libraries? So I remember there was a conversation like it's the library treated as it's like.
As are the schools.
Yeah, so
As are
would
the
the
schools.
schools be privy to having to go through that site plan review?
I think so. They do, because you have to go, for example, at the middle school, most recently, one of the main players in a site plan review is our Natural Resources Commission. So wetlands, setbacks, waterways, that sort of thing. So all of those boxes need to be checked before permits will be offered. We've had in the past projects that know they're going to have to do site plan review. They've come to us before on their own volition to say, hey,
we want you to look at this. This is all the stuff we've been doing. If you really agree with what we've been doing and you're happy with it, can you write us a letter? Because it will help us get through the rest of our site plan review
Mhm.
hoops.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's the ideal situation.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think planning, I think if we go to planning, we can ask our director to, include the commission and understand what she would need to do to, if there's anything she needs to do.
That's something you wanna take away.
Yeah, I can do that, yeah.
I mean,
And
I
at
like
least
where, I like where this
review.
is going.
We
Yeah,
can get ourselves on that list.
And,
just
no,
adding-
I think there's good reason for the town to do that, because
Yeah,
we've had so
right.
many situations where someone has gone on forward and built something and it got approval up to some stage. And then they, you know, the Architectural Access Board is like, no, and they come to us and are like, please, can you fix this for
Yeah.
us? Can you help, you know? Yeah, after the fact, when if they had come early on, it could have
It
avoided
could have,
all of
yeah.
that.
So just to,
Can I
yes,
make one
of
more
course you can.
on specifically on your presentation
Mhm.
or your document here? Please, in the middle of the page, Minuteman Art,
Yes.
Minuteman, it's 2 words,
Oh.
minute and man. And ARC is also always spelled capital A, small r, small c. The way it is, that is like a racial slur.
Right.
Using the
So
R
it's
word.
for-
Yeah,
sorry, it's-
Yeah, so capital A, small r, small c.
Thank you for
Yeah.
catching.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's like
Yeah.
nails on the blackboard.
That's You're rubbing your fur the wrong way, sorry. Yeah, cap analogy.
I know.
General feedback, and you started off the conversation by saying it's a very broad remit where it says all matters pertaining to disability. I tend, as someone that writes contracts a lot, to like that in this case because it isn't limiting, right? And it gives us more elasticity to kind of move the commission in different directions
Mhm.
based on growing needs of the community. So I would just say as people look through that, maybe give that some consideration. Is to make sure that we're not restricting ourselves. Well, I think it's important to maybe have some focus areas and as a commission agree where we think we'll get the most value from focusing our efforts. I would be cautious to change this wording to be so direct that it limits us in the future.
Thank you, Justine. I think
More
you're-
inclusive.
I think you're right.
Yeah, right.
I think it was more that it was just a bucket of cold water when I realized, oh, it says all.
Yeah,
Or
well, where do you
Right.
start, right? I
Right,
think
yeah,
the
that's-
question
yeah,
is, where do you
right.
start?
Right,
Where do you
and then I
start?
looked at our website and I thought, that is not all.
Yeah.
So let me just
Okay,
go through the rest of these.
Yes.
There aren't that many more, I'm sorry. And you can see where I'm going with this. I really just, all of us could do the same exercise, look at our charge and critique it. And maybe we should, I'll send this out and we
great.
create
Yeah.
one common document.
Yeah.
Because I think that the long story is, once we have critiqued our own charge and decided, well, how do we even meet the charge? That will essentially create a recipe for how do we want to change things and what should be on our website.
Could we share this in a Google Doc where we could
Mhm.
all comment and like?
That's
would
a,
that be
No,
possible?
that's,
I don't
yeah,
know.
the
Yeah.
open meeting law won't allow us to do that.
Okay.
so I'm happy to be the clearinghouse. If everybody wants to take it and get comments back to me, I'll put them together. Would that work? Because it's not a discussion.
Well, it sort of is though.
From an open meeting law standpoint, unfortunately it
Okay.
is, but we can certainly, like between Magnolia and I, we can gather it. I did actually send your Word document out
Okay.
to everybody
You did?
here.
Okay, great.
Well,
Thank
the whole commission, but everybody here, you're
Yeah.
happy by that. So people can certainly tweak, make their comments, make their edits, and then they can either get those back to us, or we can just have this as an agenda item on our next few meetings.
Oh,
And then we all share like,
definitely
okay,
do.
here's what I put together and
Uh-huh.
we do it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
in
you could
normal
share your
world
red
outside
lines.
stuff, and this-
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, do it on
Right.
Google Doc, everybody will, that's
Yeah,
technically,
we- Yeah, we don't work in the normal world.
If Laura made red lines to this, she could share it in advance, so we're not seeing it for the first time in the meeting, like just like the minutes, right? She could send it out a few days before and say,
You could send it to me and Magnolia, and we could include it in the packet. I think
Okay.
that would be okay to do that.
Okay.
it just seems so
You're
limited.
you're saying that all of our comments could
Not just.
could be
Yes.
posted.
Yes, you can
Right.
just put it, you don't have the big packet.
It is, but I think if
And
we,
it is totally limited,
Yeah.
but that's.
but I think Jess is right. If we, let's say we focus on it for the next 2 meetings. Let's just all try to do the best we can and get comments and, get to some place where we at least feel like, okay, this is pretty much. Anyway, so there are pieces like the whole membership piece of our charge, I don't think needs any adjustment, or I didn't even look at it. But then to get into the duties. And the duties, in a sense, have the same problem as the purpose part. Because again, the fifth duty says, provide information, referrals, blah, blah, in all matters. So again, we have to figure out some way to interpret that. What are we providing? Because right now, we're not providing much. And what does it mean to provide? Just, so anyway, I know I'm an architect.
One
I'm
way to
mostly afraid of attorneys.
about this is, would the commission be open to maybe creating an annual business plan, for lack of a better word, where we say our focus for 2026 is going to be the following objectives, so that, kind of have a focus, and then if things come through, we deal with that. So the RFP and, would be something, and, refining our website and creating a community board, and resources might be initiatives for 2026. And it's something that we can measure and report back to the town on how we, deliver in accordance with what.
This is the perfect time to do that because our report for 25 is due to the town next week.
Who could have done
Monday?
that for that?
Monday, Tuesday?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I know budget narratives are due Friday, I think the annual reports.
What happened to our picture, Gene? I wore my best sweater.
Oh, you're right. You're right. We need to do the
We were gonna
picture
do a picture
before,
tonight. I took a
before we
shower.
end tonight. See if we can figure out a way to
Well,
Photoshop Robert in.
Yep.
And also,
Yeah,
Andrew's not here.
Andrew's yeah.
but I think that's, it's interesting, Justine, I had put in this first bullet. The sort of parallel idea of doing a sort of state of accessibility in Concord report every year, which is basically
Yeah.
our report, but enlarge it a little bit and say, so how are we doing in the big picture? Not just here's what we did, but
Right,
how are we
right.
looking, to the rest of the world, especially given the current political environment, or
Oh.
is that even relevant? I don't know.
But just to follow up on Justine's point, if we had a year-long agenda or objectives list and it was made public, people who aren't on our commission, but who get a whiff of that and see something interesting could be prepared to jump in. It's just without, if there's issues near and dear to someone's heart, they can follow up on that specifically rather than just, I just think it's a great idea to let people know
That's
what
okay.
our targets are for the year in case there's other people
Right.
interested in those targets. Yeah.
So we could maybe even in this document, we could start to come up with a list of initiatives.
And that's something you could share at a town meeting and report on progress, or bring to these other departments or sections and say, how can we liaise and, help you, but you help us with our goals.
And then here, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I just think that I wonder, I guess, whether we ought to change the name. I don't mean to be too radical about this, but all matters pertaining to disability. I know we're all about disability, but all matters related to human-centered design or access for all people in Concord. So it's not just focusing on people with disability. I mean, I know that we might, but it just sounds like a better, perhaps a title that's worth considering.
Yeah, I didn't go there, Robert, only because I feel like that is gonna open a bit of I think it's a good idea. It's also gonna open a can of worms of what is our mandate and charge but if nothing else, changing to accessibility as opposed to disability, it's positive and not.
I like that.
disability, actually. I think disability is a critical keyword
Okay.
for search engines, and I think that there's a big movement now to own that
Yeah.
in the generations coming up. It's not special needs, it's a disability, and let's
Right.
embrace it and recognize it. I think you could say disability and inclusion would maybe be more encompassing. But my initial reaction is I would very much stick on that because that's a critical keyword even from a search engine optimization standpoint.
Yeah.
If we get too fancy, then we might miss people with the search, so.
And I think if we changed it to the Commission on Accessibility, people's minds will go to physical access.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you could say you can't be inclusive if you're not accessible, so accessible is like the minimum.
Just to go back, disability isn't a burden borne by an individual. It is a contextual set of conditions. It's borne by the disconnect between where you are and what you're able. So that's, I 100% agree, we should be moving away from this.
Yeah, that's, Alexa Vaughn has this thing about the medical model versus the societal model, so it's not the person, it's the
Right.
fact
The
that
environment,
the
yeah.
environment can't figure out. So, and this again, following along, most of us have already talked about the idea of a presentation to the town, maybe state-of-the-art examples, definitions of what universal inclusive design are. And then I think just looking at the rest of our, I didn't really start to go through this in detail. I got a little worried that this was going to be a bad direction for this meeting, but I'm glad it worked. But, you know, how do we coordinate and carry out programs with the MOD? Do we have examples we can show people? You know, reviewing and making recommendations. Do we want to start to do a collaborative review of town policies? We could. There's nothing stopping us. We could, you know, critique.
I think some of that will come out of the,
Grant.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the transition plan that's part of the charge of the transition plan, it's to review town.
And the last couple of comments really, I didn't know about this, but encouraging public awareness. I think the bridge has discussed the idea of having an occasional column. I don't know if there are other places we can advocate. A message board idea, I don't know if the school committee would be in. So, but it's also a time thing and somebody's gotta manage it and all that good stuff.
Opportunity at the bridge. Something you enjoy.
They've talked to a couple of us about, in fact, Bob Andrews, who I replaced on the commission, they're very interested in what affects the community. They don't want to necessarily hear about big, broad, global or federal issues. They want to know what is going on in Concord, what's interesting to people about disabilities or accessibility in Concord. And we got interviewed for the
The amenities.
amenities building. I think we've done a column here or there. Bob did one about hearing. So they're open, they're very interested in hearing from us. But they specifically told us it has to be about Concord, preferably about people in Concord, and something people would want to read about. I know that sounds kind of.
Maybe cool to share our initiatives that way too,
Mhm.
right? Speaking of trying to pull
Yeah.
people in.
But if we had a story to tell that was particularly like now that you both are on the commission, if the playground thing happened now, that would absolutely be an article.
It's
Yeah.
still happening. I'm meeting with the principals tomorrow because phase 2 still does not meet basic accessibility
Oh,
All right, so I think this is
in
something, you
certain
know,
parts, so I mean.
I don't know if it needs to be an article or a column by it, because there are three different things. There are articles, there are letters, and then there's the idea of a column, like from the Disabilities Commission.
Yeah.
You know, here's.
Columns.
But I think that interest piece could go from initiatives to highlighting a community member that's maybe created a product or something
Mhm.
for the community, and like just general interest pieces that revolve around disability and inclusion. Get pretty creative with it. And Laura is a phenomenal writer, so don't let her, there's not reason in that regard.
Looking forward to seeing the next one.
Yeah, I think, I think.
I've written it, I've written letters there. Yeah, I want to continue to live in this town and feel like I really can drop my child off at school
Safely.
safely. So I have not done them.
That might be an agenda item is to come back with an idea for a story for the bridge. I can think of one right away, do you know the boardwalk at Newbury Court?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to like, what did that, why did they do it? Does everybody know that it's there? Who uses it? How do they use it? There's the boardwalk in the woods next to Newbury Court.
I love that idea because I would love to celebrate something done right.
Exactly.
Because I feel like there's often an impression, like we're coming being like, it's right, and it's like, it would be really great to
Celebrate,
to celebrate.
And it's, what's cool is that it's a kind of partnership between a private and a public entity, right? So like if Newbury Court is private, you're
Right.
supposed to go and check in if you want to use it, but it's open to the
But you
public and it
can-
connects to our trail system. So
Yeah.
it's just a nice opportunity, but I think there are other stories like that out there for us to.
With the marathon coming up, I think someone that's running on behalf of the charity, already I'm sharing their story.
That's a great idea too.
Or someone with a disability who's
Yeah,
gonna be running.
yeah.
Right.
You know-
I think also article wise, we just secured, you guys did it, but secured $125,000
Yeah.
grant for the town. And out of that, there'll be a study coming forward. I think that's newsworthy. That's gonna affect a lot of people, probably more people who work for the town than the everyday citizen, but it should, in the end, be a big benefit for everyone.
And I think the letters that you haven't sent, we totally have your back, so let's take it out of your hands and say, this is coming from the Commission on
Yeah.
Disabilities.
Yeah.
All 12 signatures.
And if any of you have the ability to, I would encourage you to drive by Thoreau, maybe not during school hours. And look at the structure they built for an inclusive parks, and look at their webpage on how they marketed this from a fundraising perspective. Because it starts off with inclusion doesn't just mean accessible surfaces and ramps.
Say that again?
It says, their whole fundraising page starts off with inclusion means more than accessible surfaces and ramps. The
You
entire
can drink it
main,
off at the end again.
oh, sorry,
Say
and
the whole
ramps,
sentence.
ramp.
Ramps.
They mention accessible surfaces and ramps as a minimum for an inclusive park. I would encourage you to drive by. The main structure is a treehouse. With no ramps.
No.
Not even a staircase, not even a solid surface, it's netting that goes up to a singular slide. And when we inquired about it, the response that we got was, oh, we thought wheelchair users and kids with disabilities, creating a netting system would help promote them building their upper body strength so they can pull themselves up. And Laura and I immediately lost our. So, and we go off on a tangent on this because it's near and dear to us. Both of our sons go to that school. But, we look at our neighboring towns like Sudbury and Acton are doing such great public spaces and making all of their playgrounds, both school and just public, accessible. And, when we asked
Do
the
they hire
superintendent
professionals?
about it, given that Thoreau houses the Pathways program that aids students with global developmental aids, we were told, well, if we invest too much, I'm paraphrasing, we invest too much at Thoreau, the parents at Alcott are gonna be upset. So we're doing a disservice to our community because we know that other areas, right, aren't adequately built or funded. And it's a very backwards and short-sighted model. So, yeah, but I will stop there. But take a drive by and it will infuriate you.
Well, I do think all these things could be, these are things we could either take positions on. We've done it before. We usually write letters in support of, people will come to us and say, this or that is going on. What's your position? We write a letter saying,
On that note, from personal experience outside of the park, there has been an issue at the schools lately. I'm curious if people have seen this across town. With the snow, we've had to change where we drop off our son. And there are 2 handicap accessible spots at the row. Every morning, my husband and I go to drop off our son, and there are people parking in those spots without handicap placards. And every morning, I politely approach them, I say, "Excuse me, ma'am, sir, do you have a placard?" And they say no, and I say, "There are students at this school that need this spot, could you kindly not park here again?" Half of them were horrified and admit that they were just doing it out of convenience, and half of them are just like, whatever, I'm leaving, right? I raised this to the principal, because I said, could you, as a short-term measure, build some awareness that these spots are not here for convenience of everyone?
Right.
And maybe put, someone out there just to monitor it, and if people try to pull it, say no. But I told him I think there just needs to be some education around it, and I'm wondering if that continues to be an issue. I've heard it at other schools as well. If that's something maybe the commission could comment on, to whether it's the school committee or, other, town offices or locations, trying to, maybe it's painting over those spots so they're a little bit brighter, or some additional signage. But it seems to be,
Or ticket.
yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
also-
Yeah.
Police officer, yeah.
We need more money, and by the way, that balance is 55-30, so you were.
Okay, thank you.
That was bothering me, I was like.
Thank you for checking.
Probably, without exaggerating, ticket at least 50 parents on a daily basis.
Whoa.
A day.
It's
We could enroll you in it.
It's
Yeah.
horrific. It's actually appalling.
So I think that you're getting at the enforcement issue. This is not unfortunately unique to this commission. The HDC, other commissions, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think again, like if we presented to the police department, we take our little show to them and say, did you know?
Mhm.
How about sending a cop over there in the morning, whatever, I don't know, they.
Yeah.
It would seem, I think there's probably, sort of levels of ways this could be handled. It's a great example. Levels of ways this could be handled. For instance, as was said, talking to the principal and giving him ideas about, what he might do about this. And then if that doesn't work, then we could escalate it to, an editorial of some sorts. And I think editorials would be what was mentioned about Newburyport. It'd be great to, set that apart from something that we're doing in Concord. Like, does it measure up to this wonderful example? It does or it doesn't. Let people, feel the way they're going to feel about it. And in terms of the parking, it could escalate to having the police there, every so often, and giving tickets to people who are there just to park. So, I'm just going to be here for a few minutes. That just doesn't cut it as far as I'm concerned. So we could,
I agree.
suggest, at steps to address the problem.
I mean, partly you're just talking about enforcing the existing laws,
And,
which shouldn't be a
yeah, and I think
stretch. but-
it's an education too, right?
Exactly.
There's chaos in the morning at drop off. I'll be the first to admit that. And I think people don't realize, because maybe they don't see the population of students that need those spots, and they're like, I'm in and out, I'm not, but
Right.
you're in and out, which means I can't park there with my son that can't walk that distance or uses a wheelchair, or, for Alden needs a certain spacing to be able to open the door and get him to exit. So I think, again, it's building some awareness and education, and I think the majority of people, once you bring it to their attention, if you do it in such a way that you're not scolding them, are slightly remorseful, right, and embarrassed. But yeah, it started with the principal, but I think if it continues to be an issue, maybe it's something that,
Well, I'll tell you, I think there are enough issues with handicap or disability parking all throughout the town that I would love to see a police officer there tomorrow morning handing out tickets. If you've got any way to sway them, Jess,
Yeah, it's probably happening at every school.
No, it is.
It probably is, and you know, we've had
I
people.
don't think
come
it would
to us
take long, right? You could just have a
complain.
police officer there for 2
Right,
mornings and.
Yeah.
and people have complained about the library. Certainly before the addition, when the spot was over by where the book drop off was.
Yeah.
People would just.
Even the new spots are, I spoke to somebody who has an issue with those.
them for
They're
drop-off.
Technically compliant, but like. This individual's issue is like a safety thing because the lines are there, but people will
Yeah.
cut in to get to the first space that's not handicapped. They're literally like zooming right where somebody couldn't hear be getting out of there.
Mhm.
It's. What kind of stuff, right?
Kind
Well,
of.
that's the thing too. I'm thinking about, I need these people, know full well. they can
And so
park
to
in.
your point, Justine, like, I think you just can't expect what we want to expect from everyone. So I think education is really key. Usually the problem with drop off winter is really bad because snow is in places where it's not supposed to be. So to some extent, it's understandable from that perspective that there is no other place, and so they pull in. Usually it starts with design. The drop off isn't good enough and isn't big enough and isn't adequate or obvious enough that then people just pull into the ADA spots because the drop off is stinky and it wasn't designed well. Humor is a really great way to get at this, but it almost feels like this would make an amazing initiative for our 1 year long outlook on disability issues in the town. And it sounds like if we could use some of our $5,530 or whatever that is, like an advertising, social media, comedy, humorous blitz, like through town, just to let people understand, like, sorry, you may not need that today, but you know, you may need that tomorrow when your kid breaks their leg and they can't walk across the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, but it feels like that's something that would fit in our purview, is to really push on the parking issues.
It's, you know, I think I've literally gone up to windows. I know this. And then the old fashioned roll it down and people are like, hi, and I was like, do you have a placard? And they're like, no, you can't park here. But that should be the responsibility of a parent and,
Right.
you know, my concern, it can be. I did have a guy the other day who was like, looked friendly, had a Harry Potter sticker on his car, not so friendly. But
Pretty Voldemort, that's the thing.
yeah, it was the three. Yeah, right,
Three
exactly.
broomsticks.
Like an idiot, it
Yeah.
says.
Oh,
And then
I
on the
don't mean,
backside,
You need to
Sorry.
talk to you.
I don't mean to be sexist, but not infrequently, I get a very angry reaction, and I attribute that partly to the fact that I'm relatively tall, I have a deep voice, I'm a guy, and guys in cars will often just fight back. And so I think it's great that you can comment to people and say, do you have a placard? And the reactions are usually pretty good, but there's no guarantee that it's
No.
going to be as you expect and as it should be.
Well, that and, you know, I think, and I'm speaking for Laura, but from a personal perspective, as a parent to a child, a disability within the Concord school systems, we are constantly advocating for their needs and in their needs being met. And there's this balance between advocating and then also having what's deemed as a very polarizing personality, right? And Laura kind of mentioned something to that extent earlier. So at the end of the day, the burden of that education shouldn't be on the parents that need access to that spot, right? And I'm happy to do it myself, but there might be that parent that isn't able to for one reason or another.
I've been so burnt out lately. I've just been parking totally illegally and trying to smash all the wheelchair through snow banks
Well,
because I
that's
just
a-
don't want to interfere.
And that's a general social justice issue
Yeah.
that the marginalized community shouldn't be the one teaching the rest of us
Yeah.
why. we're buying
Can we
it.
call the cops and ask them to, and like, not in a like 911, hey, somebody's parked in this spot, but just be like, hey, do you think you could stop by between the hours of like
Yeah.
2:45 and 3:30? And just hang and bring your ticket book and like, let's make some money here.
Mhm.
I have just emailed the chief just to be like.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I
Yeah,
think that's a great first step. It's
Yeah.
immediate education to the people who
Yeah.
are doing it.
All right, so I took way too much time there, but that was what I did, so I'm happy to share that. Thank you all for
So,
engaging. I hope it was helpful. And I think the only thing I would say, the last thing, and it's more under miscellaneous business, you probably saw in Florida, what's happening with placards. Do you know about this?
no.
It's actually coming from, it's a movement for
This.
for women who are pregnant to be
Yes.
able to get temporary placards, which on the surface is fine.
Right.
But it created this whole argument about why are there so many handicap spots required? There's something.
Pregnancy considered a disability.
Right. And
Yeah.
so-
It was very interesting.
but I actually think that's almost the kind of thing that would be interesting for us to say, hey, it's in the news,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
let's talk about it. Is,
Yeah.
why is it in the news? What are,
Mhm.
you know, how are people coming down on the issue? You know, so anyway, that's all.
Good bridge article too.
Well, you know, even just our first article or however you want to do this could just be like, hey, did you know? Like, I guarantee there's probably people that don't even realize this commission even exists or that it's as active as it is.
Sure.
And you know, if you look on, I know you pulled up the helpful links page, but if you go even just to our main page, I mean, we do have a mission there that potentially we could consider rewriting, you know, if we want, but like all of our meeting packets are there. So like people can click on these materials, see what we've been talking about. They'll see that we do have regular meetings with some meaty information. So, and there's the email where, you know, at the beginning, which we confirm now, we have access now to the email, after the whole thing with the police and library, you know, nobody had access. But you know, like it says that we welcome suggestions and comments, but like let people know, like we're here, there's emails, send
Right, that's
stuff,
very
and just,
important. Yeah, we're not.
you know, and then we can go from there, because I feel like people just might not even, they don't really know what's happening.
I think well, sorry, I mean, what I'm finding around sustainability and the work I do is that this is gonna be, for me, the year of giving people solutions, not resources. Resources, with a lot of people, no matter how well-meaning you are, they'll look at a list of websites and their eyes will glaze over and they might go to one or two. But if you give them like simple checklists and a couple of case studies and here's what it means to you, that's a much different level of interface. So that's what I would love to see even us do to some degree. It's great to have resources, but I think people also need answers, like what do I do? So however we do that, I'd love to help. Okay, no, I talked too much.
No.
I think people are really interested in some kind of controversy. It really gets people, you know, it just increases interest tremendously. So, you know, expressing our opinion about the parking issue at schools, that'll get people riled up. And certainly I agree with the comment about, you know, the problem is design. So the rule of human factors is to design out forecasted problems. And then if you can't do that, then it's training, which is, you know, the wrong solution, but it is what we have to do.
If nothing else, it'll allow people to focus on something other than Greenland and Venezuela for like 15 minutes.
So to move on to something else. Well, first of all,
Yes.
Peter, thank you.
Well,
This was really well done. Really well.
Well,
done.
thank you. You should see me when I actually prepare a presentation. Happy to keep going.
If any of you are interested in helping to put together what we need to submit to the town for a look back at FY 25, and then, you know, I think that at the ending of that should be, and these are our goals, initiatives, whatever we want to say for FY 26. I would love to have assistance with that.
I'm happy to volunteer to like do that, keep a record to be able to do that for 2026, but where I wasn't involved in the majority of.
And I think we should say including but not limited to.
Yeah.
I heard you
True,
say
yeah,
that.
because things come along and,
Yeah.
yeah. So can we take just 5 more minutes and talk about what we feel will be the most important initiatives for FY 26? I mean, right now, what I have is this municipal grant that we've received and, in working with the information and material that we get back from that. And then increasing awareness of this commission and the kinds of things that we do. And kind of resources that we can provide to the town or offer to citizens.
I think also adding efforts to make our commission more integral to site plan review process.
Yeah.
Specifically, this is really important to get on the ground floor now, because if the MCI work ever does happen, we would definitely want to be involved.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the idea of reviewing efforts that are over a certain amount of money and have a wider impact.
Okay, I can't. So my own personal feeling about that's gonna be a really tough road to go. Because right now, they're the various entities that have to review things. I think we would see a lot of pushback from, I think particularly the building department.
All right.
So they should, I'm not saying that we
Far's
should,
worse than their buddies.
Okay,
I go in there all the time.
okay.
I'm not saying that we should be, part of the permitting process. But
No,
just being
no.
able to see it and make comments, that seems like it's worthwhile.
Right.
So maybe
Well,
that's site plan
So,
review.
so Robert, that we would be part of the permitting process, that the before permit could be offered to an applicant, the project documents would have to come before our commission. They
For approval?
already go before many other commissions and departments in our town by rote right now. For example, like fire and safety, they go through public works and they go through HTC. We should be on that list. And that way we would do exactly that. We would get to see all of the documents and all of
I
the
see.
plan.
I see.
So I think that's the right place to be. There
Mhm.
are a lot of there's no site plan review for private homes, and if we had some kind of dollar cap, we would have to, it would just be very complicated. So I think the permitting process is actually a process that already exists in our town, and if we could streamline and slip into that, I think that would be the right way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well said.
Other thoughts, initiatives?
Do we want to change our website at all?
Yes.
How much ability do we have to change the website?
Technically, the town manager has final say in what goes on the website. That said, most people are just updating their pages, and Magnolia does all of kind of the human services pages. So if you want any content change, like she's the one that puts packet postings on there. If you want to change the intro paragraphs, whatever, we can get that, between me and Magnolia, she'll get that up there.
I feel like
So
that's,
is that your sense to sort of update, or are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, as we're
Yeah.
critiquing this, I think it would be
You should-
interesting those helpful links, like, I think as we go through this process. If we all offer back our thoughts on some of that, like, we're gonna have a much more robust list.
I think one thought, thank you for that. I think if we go through this, what we ought to do is identify actionable items or goals, maybe bold them or something. And those turn into tasks for somebody, one of us or Magnolia or somebody. And then we could probably just reduce the task to a list. Dan said it on a spreadsheet here,
A project plan.
yes.
Yeah.
But I think generally, I mean, these are general goals, but I don't know how specific we want to get.
For purposes of the report, this is,
We can
Plan
aspiration.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's enough.
Mhm.
I think that's like.
To start with.
To start with, I think that's enough, especially when we hear back. Not so much hear back, especially going through the transition plan
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And then reviewing the results in June.
Mhm.
I feel like, and then identifying, that's gonna be a great tool for identifying where our gaps are.
See, I want us to be the little commission that roars, like, so that the annual meeting packet doesn't just end as a doorstop. to make
Yeah.
people like, oh, thanks.
That could be our
Yeah.
opening quote of the.
The little
Yeah. That's gonna have us meeting on a weekly basis, but I know.
I agree about limiting the number of
We should start
objectives
going to
that we
meetings.
take on. I agree about limiting the number of objectives that we take on. 2 or 3
Yeah.
would be great
Yeah.
and understandable.
Right,
Yes, yeah.
so they look at which have the best and biggest impact or something.
I'll try to build out some pieces of writing.
Okay, great.
Someplace in the packet, yeah, you've got a copy of the letter, from the State Historic Preservation, Commission. That's really the only, there's not really any update on what's happening with the US at this point. New business, other things,
I think we slid way too far into new business to the old.
that's okay. Okay, so I will adjourn this meeting. It's 6:40 almost.